Hi, guys. There was a moment when I almost didn't start this podcast. And honestly, there were about 100 moments when I almost didn't start my company either. Because starting something new, especially when you're not 25 anymore, feels different. It feels riskier, heavier. It's like you should already have everything already figured out, right? And but here we are. Um, what can I say? Here we are. This is Carrie. It's not that serious. And this is where the real story begins. Now, normally I would have some kind of intro, outro music, but there's a lot of permissions you have to get with that. So if there's any artists that are cool with me using their music, looking at you, Olivia Dean, and a ton of other artists, actually, for that matter. I would love to be featuring your music in my podcast, like on the background. And I am such a huge music freak. And if you don't already know that about me, you will come to know that about me listening to these podcasts. But I can't even imagine not having music on here because I don't have any part of the day in my life where there's not music. So, anywho, I digress. Welcome to Carrie. It's Not That Serious. I'm Carrie Hunter, founder of It's Not That Serious. I am a storyteller, a mentor, a former construction tech executive, reinvention enthusiast, and a woman who's lived enough life to know that sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is exhale. This podcast is for women who are building, becoming, healing, leading, questioning, evolving, and occasionally wondering what the hell they're doing. That'd be me. I mean, if that's you, you're in the right place. And my intention with this podcast is that it will go hand in hand with my website. So if you are listening to this website and I'm referring to something, it's probably on the website, whether that's a partner, whether that's a woman in power, whether that's a travel location, whatever I'm talking about is typically on the website. So when you get done with your walk or get out of the bathtub, whatever you're doing, wherever you're listening to this, you can always go to the website and find information. And if you can't find it, email me. My contact information's on there too. Well, let's get into it. Before It's Not That Serious or INTS existed, it didn't start out as a business plan. It didn't start out as a strategy deck or something, really put together. It started out as this tiny thought in the back of my head. I've been mentoring for many years, and for over 2 decades, I worked in industries where often I was the only woman in the room. Construction, communication, tech, innovation, in all of this, in all of those worlds. But I loved it. I built, I led, I sold, I grew companies. But somewhere along the way, I was working basically with all men. I mean, love it, love my guys, have a ton of amazing colleagues that I still connect with all the time. But something that I realized was women were doing extraordinary things very quietly. And feeling very alone doing it, by the way, I might add. They were surviving divorce, death, helping their parents, launching companies, rebuilding after total heartbreak or devastation, navigating motherhood, navigating ambition, their own bodies as their bodies changed, healing their own bodies, reinventing their careers. And most of them were/are doing it without a spotlight, without applause, without somebody saying, I see you. And that bothered me because I saw them and I could see that so many of them felt so alone, but yet we're doing very similar things and surviving very similar things. And I just thought, no, we need to change this. We need a network. We need a place, a safe place where we can tie those common threads between each other. The name It's Not That Serious doesn't mean that life isn't meaningful. I mean, it's somewhat ironic, right? 50% of the time it's an ironic title. And 50% of the time it's not. Like sometimes it's really minor things that get in our way, and sometimes it's really, really tough things. And it's not that serious has been a way over the years for me to guide myself and other women through some tough stuff, and to remove roadblocks that weren't that big of a deal but seemed like a big deal in the moment. It's not that serious. It means life doesn't have to crush you, right? It means we can be building powerful things without losing ourselves. It means we can have ambition without being fully rigid, right? It means we can cry and laugh in the same afternoon, maybe in the same 2 minutes. It means when everything feels overwhelming, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pause, time out, zoom out, and say, okay, it's not that serious. Why am I letting this get in my way? The phrase really became a reset button for me, and eventually for other women, and eventually it became a movement, right? One of the very first things that I created when I was thinking about building this was our Women in Power, or also more fondly, in my opinion, known as our whips. Our whips that I created under the INTS umbrella was something that I wanted to do to highlight different women that were doing incredible things, but that were going through tough shit and that felt super alone. And I was like, hold on a minute. Like, you're doing amazing things and you're going through this tough stuff and it's not stopping you, and you're still a total badass. And women need to know about that because, again, so many of us feel so alone in that tough moment. Like, oh my gosh, I mean, think about it. You're thinking about some total badass woman that that's, the CEO of whatever company. And you're like, holy shit, man, she is just a powerhouse. She's got her shit together. She's just like, I could never be vulnerable with her and talk to her about whatever subject, because she would never have to deal with shit like I'm dealing with. She would never have to go through this. And that's just total crap, because every single woman I know has been going through something. So even the most amazing women that you think, no way possibly could they understand, they absolutely understand. And they've been through something as bad as you, or maybe even worse. And so I just really wanted to highlight these women. I know so many of these women they have a biography, their bio's ready at the drop of a hat. They can share that with any magazine that's trying to write an article about them, or anyone that's trying to highlight them, within the company. But getting down to something specific that they struggled through, that takes balls, number one. But that requires somebody to be very vulnerable, right? And so I really just wanted to highlight those stories about something that somebody that was amazing, that you saw this amazing, shiny, perfect reflection. You saw what they've curated, and just make them more real, make them more accessible and relatable. And I mean, every single time I did one of these stories, I've heard someone else say, oh my gosh, I totally relate to that. Oh my gosh, I saw myself in her. Thank you for sharing this. I had no idea. And that's that connection, that thread. That's when I realized it was so valuable. It's so valuable for us to see those commonalities in each other, because we are not going through it alone. And, everybody is not just living some kind of dream life. I mean, you see it all the time on all the social media. You see these curated perfection, curated stories of perfection they're just not real. And the thing is, it's not that you can't have an amazing, perfect life. People can have amazing lives. They aren't perfect, though. Like, shit happens, right? So, I just realized it's vital to us connecting and building as women is us seeing that common thread that weaves through all of us. And when one woman sees another woman's vulnerable moments where she's gotten through something difficult, it helps them learn how to navigate hard seasons, helps them learn how to lead boldly, how to change directions. Hello, we've all heard of pivoting. Hello, right here. Hello, pivoting. But it also like just gives us permission, right? Like it's like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly do that. Yes, you could. Yes, you can. Like life is not one straight line, right? And us having some kind of subconscious or conscious permission is so powerful. And this podcast is a full extension of that. Why a podcast? Some people have said, it's funny, when I was building my brand and building my business, I was still in the corporate world. And I had this huge vision of what I wanted to bring to everybody. And I knew I kind of had to, because I was still in my other role, I had to build it from the ground up, and I kind of had to build it a little backwards because I've had so many people over the years tell me, oh my God, you need to do a podcast. You need to do a podcast. And it was kind of like, well, I can't be a executive and I can't be a VP of another company and be doing a podcast. Like that didn't make sense to me. And so the podcast was kind of the last piece. As I stepped out of my corporate role, it was like I had to do that in order to give myself permission to do the podcast. So I didn't start the podcast because the world needed another podcast. Like there are billions of podcasts. I mean, come on. There's so many. Okay, I know there's not billions, but like there's so many. And I don't even listen to podcasts. Like I do listen to some, and I started listening to some because I knew how many people were listening and how much it resonated with some of the most amazing women I know. But I started it because voice matters. There's something different about hearing someone speak their truth versus like reading it or seeing pictures. Now, I know how powerful it is reading it. I know how powerful it is seeing these amazing women, seeing their pictures and hearing the stories. But hearing the pauses, I'm going to really try not to edit my podcast. I know that sounds insane, but I don't want it perfect. Like if I say too much, oh well. If I drop an F-bomb, I mean, note to everyone, if you don't know me personally, I swear like a sailor. So I'm going to try to rein it in for this a little bit. But like, I want you to hear some real shit. Our women are real. Their stories are real. Nothing is perfect. So I want this podcast to reflect that. I want you to hear the pauses. I want you to hear the doubt. I want you also to hear the conviction. And I want a space where conversations are allowed to fully unfold. Like they're not curated, they're not filtered into some like some perfect little square of perfection on Instagram. I don't want them reduced to a headline. I just want them totally real. And I want you to be able to pick something up that you're like, oh my God, hell yeah. I totally relate to that. I feel that. That makes sense to me. And there's plenty of, I'm not standing on a stage right now talking to you, giving you some inspiration. I'm just trying to bring you real shit that I know can move the needle for you guys, because it's moved the needle for me. And it would have helped me move the needle so much quicker in my life if I had this previously many years ago. So what this podcast will be, here's what you can expect from Carrie. It's not that serious. Some episodes will just be me. I'm going to try to keep those to a minimum because I know that can be boring. But some will be our women in power, our whips. We'll have conversations. We'll talk to them about some real shit that they went through and how they got through it and how they're getting through it. It's not a straight line. It's not just like, oh, this happened, then I did this, then I got through it. We all know that's not realistic, right? We'll talk about reinvention. Again, hello. I'm reinventing every day, I feel like. We'll talk about travel, where all of these women, myself included, have been able to travel around the globe alone. You know, a lot of us are in our second and third iterations of life, and we're now exploring the world on our own. Whether that's because of divorce, because of death, because we were corporate our whole lives and never had kids or a husband, whatever the case may be, now we're exploring, traversing the wild, wild globe that it is. And I just want to bring you some really cool locations that you can find yourself in alone, or with girlfriends or with your husband or whatever. And I also want to I want to highlight really great partners that allow you to travel safely in other countries, where you know you can get a private car and you can trust that source and that resource, and you can lean on it, and you can have a nice car, so that something as simple as public transportation isn't going to stop you from doing all these amazing things that I know are in your future. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about things that are affecting women, women's health. Oh my gosh, there's so many new revelations coming out. Good Lord. So many new revelations coming out about HRT, about perimenopause, menopause, all of those things. About sex, women and sex. Gosh, everything is so taboo all the time. We're going to remove those. We're going to talk about it. We'll talk about money, finance. Again, maybe you were a corporate girly your whole life and now you've saved all this money, and what do I do with it now? Maybe your husband just died and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Maybe your parents, maybe you're dealing with your parents, but we'll talk about money, what makes sense, what you should do. Microdosing. Okay, I know this is like edgy for some people, but there are so many people. We take prescription meds and we eat them and we're like, no big deal. We think nothing of it. Then we talk about microdosing and it's like, oh my God, whoa, like that's totally out on the edge. But really, is it? It's natural. And microdosing is not like we're, laying on the couch, like unable to move and taking so many drugs. And if you're listening and can't see me, I'm air quoting right now. The thing about microdosing is there are so many people that use it to be more effective, to be more alert during their day and productive, and to help themselves get through the day, right? And I don't mean like, they're on the couch and they can't move, and so they take some microdose, they're microdosing something, and they're a totally different person. That's not what we're talking about. So we are going to get into it. What does it mean? What is it? Many people, they don't even know what it is because they've never felt comfortable enough going all the way in to talk about it. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about pivots, career pivots or otherwise. Again, divorce, death, changing careers. These are all things that when you're starting over in your 40s, in your 50s, shit, in your 60s, what does that look like? But we're going to cover it all. We're going to cover everything. And I want to run it through one lens, and that lens is growth, becoming, and reminding women that they are not behind. They are unfolding into, I just love that. Like, think of a flower blooming. They are blooming. They're unfolding. What new things can they find out about themselves? The personal truth. I'm trying to lay it all out on the line here for you guys. So being fully transparent, sharing this feels vulnerable, right? Because I know there's a ton of things I'm going to be talking about that you just normally don't talk about, right? Like for example, I'm going to go down the bit of a rabbit hole here, but I'm going to try to make it quick. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was saying to them, as women, especially in corporate, we build up these, and even outside of corporate, it's not just in corporate, but we build up this perfect image of ourselves, right? And we claw our way to the top, and we get there, and we've curated this perfect image of ourselves. And we do, like our career, we have to look perfect. We have to dress perfect. We have to talk perfect. We have to perform outstanding, right? Forget just, level. Even, there's studies that have come out recently that like if women wear makeup, they make more money. Like, this is craziness. But anyway, we curate this perfect image. We curate this perfection. And because we do that, then it's so hard to be vulnerable. It's so hard to then chip away at that perfect image we've created. And it's not like we're doing it maliciously. We're doing it because we wanted to get to the top. We wanted to show how outstanding we could perform and how fit we were for the jobs. And so being vulnerable and showing the cracks of like, yeah, I had a shitty year. Yeah, I almost died because of my health. Yeah, I was super depressed because I went through a divorce, or whatever the case may be. Showing those pieces of vulnerability is really, really tough. And so I'm going to start with myself, by myself being vulnerable, which will help all the other women that are listening and that are coming on the show, that are coming on the podcast, will help them to be vulnerable as well. Because even after years of leadership and building and speaking, and there's still a voice that asks, who do you think you are? Who are you? You know, like, who am I to have a podcast? Like, who, maybe nobody will listen to it, you know, whatever, who cares? Like, yes, do I want it to be wildly successful? And do I want it to help people? Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay. But here's what I've learned. You cannot wait until you feel ready. If that was the case, I would definitely not be doing this. I feel like there's so many things that I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how, right? If you wait until you feel ready, you'll never start. So you build anyway, you speak anyway, you share anyway, because someone is waiting to hear something that you're going to say, that I'm going to say, right? And the only way they're going to do that is if I say it, if we say it, right? So if this podcast reaches one woman who feels less alone, that's enough. Now, I hope it fucking reaches millions, right? I hope it goes crazy. But my intention is even one is better than zero. And I'm going to make it as fun as I can. I'm a goofball. I'm silly. I like to think I'm hilarious. Okay. So I'm going to be bringing that into it too. But I just want it to be real. I want you to feel something real and authentic. And I want you to understand that my website, my company, who I'm about, and what I want to share with you is authentic and real. And hey, by the way, that doesn't mean I'm perfect. Like, right? I try to be the best person I can be. When I know better, I do better. I try, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. That doesn't mean I don't have a shitty day. That doesn't mean I don't fuck things up, because I do, right? Nobody's perfect, but I'm trying, right? And I am coming to you as real and authentic as possible. There will be no, nothing fake about this. So if you love it, hate it, at least you know it's real. So if this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, share it with other women who need to hear it. You can find out more about it on itsnotthatserious.com. Women in Power, the travel highlights, everything we're building there. Again, we're going to be talking about it here. And I'm going to try, again, not to do a ton of episodes with just me. I do want to get through a few with just me, just to kind of explain what we're doing here. Like, what is this about? But then I'm going to start bringing in people in. I've got a whole plan of all the fun stuff to talk about, hard stuff, easy stuff, everything in between, so that it's worth listening to, so it does something to move the needle for you. So thank you for being here at the beginning. This is just the start. And wherever you are in your journey, building, breaking, becoming, remember, life is meaningful, life is messy, life is powerful, and sometimes it's not that serious. I'll see you next week. That's a wrap on today's episode of Carrie, It's Not That Serious. If this conversation resonated, subscribe and share it with a woman in power in your life. You can find more conversations, more community, and all the fun INTS merch you love at itsnotthatserious.com. We're building something meaningful here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it. Until next time, remember, it's not that serious.